My name is Elizabeth Rolfe. I'm with the Ag Tourism Coalition. Contrary to some thinking, we are not asking for a reinterpretation or change of the rules. We're asking you to recognize the current interpretational drift and return us to the original intent and implementation practices of several important policies, specifically the rules embedded in existing temporary events ordinance and AGP 6. We've made the case for what we think those original intentions and implementation practices are in our submission. More generally, I wanted to mention that we are alarmed by the authority presumed by the Planning Department. They make the case that interpretation and implementation of important land use concepts like primary, incidental, and secondary should remain subjective and case by case, ultimately to be determined by them alone. This is an immense amount of authority with no explicit criteria and decisions rather removed from the light of day. If it's let stand, we don't believe recent decisions bode well for the future preservation of our agricultural resources. We hope you will call for some more concrete and transparent criteria to guide implementation, like the ALAB standards. We believe that if preservation of our ag resources is to remain a priority, the Ag Department should have a stronger authority in establishing those criteria. Lastly, we believe that it is very important to deal with the questions of interpretation that we have put forth sooner rather than later. The ag tourism package, which may well change some of these policies, will be some time in the making. Meanwhile, we all need firmer and more transparent guidance on the rules. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Rolfe. Susan Harvey, followed by Lucien Bonnier, and CZ Whitney is on deck.
Good morning. Susan Harvey for North County Watch, and we are a member of the Ag Tourism Coalition. And I'd like to get back to what the issue is, and the issue is that we have a temporary events ordinance and we have Ag Policy 6, and these are what we're talking about right now. And I made comments on two of the issues that were processed for MUPs for what we're talking about now, and I got those out to just give you a little idea of the extent of how far we think this is stepping away from the intent of AGP 6 and the temporary events ordinance. One of the conditions for one of them was that the county, we're talking about the temporary events, no permanent changes, okay? The county public improvement standard B1E rural driveway approach for use on high-speed or high-volume roads shall be constructed at the intersection of the 50-foot wide legal access. The access road from the county public improvement standard B1E rural driveway approach at Nasimiano Road to the driveways at the project site shall be improved to a county public improvement standard A1 gravel road, minimum improved width 20 feet. All construction within the public right-of-way shall require an encroachment permit. It hardly sounds like a condition for a temporary event where no change to the land is happening. One of them was had a bed and breakfast with 10 vehicle trips per day, talked about because of staff, and that was because of the 22 events a year and the size of them. That was going up to 150 vehicle trips, and 22 events a year is twice a month, not just once a month, and that's just one property, and there are no standards on how many properties around can have this kind of stuff. One of the roads was Oak Flat Road, and it crossed the creek in 7 places. Oak Flat Road has endangered steelhead have been sighted in it. That was never sent to the DFG to have a discussion about that. And their access driveways were 16 to 18 feet wide, needed to be increased to 20 feet wide, and crossing the Blue Line Creeks on 2 places on the property, plus the dirt road that this was off of. The county policy now is not to allow wineries on property that they have to pave the road if it's not paved. And this was allowing 22 events a year for up to 150 people on a road that isn't paved. And in addition, crossed the Blue Line Creek 7 times and was only 16 feet wide, so it wasn't the 20 feet wide that the county CDF was asking for. There was one more thing. Those are
Harvey,
two
there
of
may
the
be one more thing, but you're-
permanent restroom facilities. One of them, of course, it was the ag barn. It was going to have two permanent, kind of restroom facilities.
Thank you, Ms. Harvey. Leeson Bonnier is our next speaker, followed by Charlie Whitney and Ernest.
Good morning,
Cast is next.
sorry. Good morning, my name is Leeson Bonnier and I'm a farmer. And as farmers, we do understand the need to supplement farm income. When we look at the statistics of farms today, it's rather grim, and I think about half of the ag operations have some sort of a supplementary source of income from the outside. But most often, that is taken by a spouse taking on a job outside the farm or such. What we're talking about here is to have a supplementary income on the farm itself. So with that said, I think it is the most important that all events are secondary. I mean, events that take place on the ag land is secondary to the ag operation itself. And I do support the ag department criteria or verification to calculating what is secondary to the ag operation itself. I understand today that you're only taking, you're here to listen to the public and potentially pass some recommendations to the Board of Supervisors, and I have a couple of recommendations. For the very large events, the temporary events that require a minor use permit, I would suggest that there maybe be a sunset date for the MUP, or perhaps put a limit on the number of temporary events for that one MUP filing. I also think that I know that the MUP goes with the land, but I have some questions about that. I like to see that particular temporary event MUP maybe expire when there's a change of management, or perhaps a change of the ownership of the land itself. We don't know if the next person who's coming along will be able to manage these events or these event sites, or what has historically taken place in a good manner or the same manner with the same neighborly stewardship. I do realize that there's a few bad apples in the box that are causing these problems. There are events that are poorly managed and they're causing disturbance in our rural neighborhood. Therefore, I think that it should be important that there's some sort of a way for neighbors to file complaints. So, because we can't expect the county to control once we're giving these permits. They're basically, as a neighborhoods, they're being affected by events that are not controlled, or there are too much noise, or that the ag portion has expired, or too many cars, or too many events, or whatever. So there needs to be a way for neighborly complaints. Thank you.